Written, produced, mixed, mastered, engineered. When you hear these words, you know it's this man. Self-made from the jump, multi-platinum, of course, New York Times best-selling author. Very happy to have you here. Welcome, Russ.
Thank you. Thanks, man.
How you doing?
Oh, I'm hungover.
Yeah. I like the hat, man. That hat is fire, man.
Thank you.
How's it been for you? Take me through your 2024. Tell me, like, at the end of the year, how does it feel? What kind of year was that for you?
Oh, man. Wow. Let's reflect. You know, at the top of this year, my mentor said this was going to be the year of doing hard shit.
Okay.
And I think in the past, I've sort of shied away from anything that I felt like was going to be too difficult in terms of like, that's going to cause me too much social anxiety. So no, I'm not going to go to that event. No, I'm not going to go sit down and do that interview because I'll be too nervous. And, you know, this was the year where I was just like, fuck it. I am going to sit down and do this podcast, and I am going to, you know, do the whole arena tour in America with no alcohol and see what that feels like, you know? And I got to do this movie. We filmed it like September, October. And I was so nervous about it because I'm like, man, like these are long days, Monday through Friday, 12-hour days. Yeah. You can't drink, you know? And I'm just like, I'm like, how am I gonna do this? Because I'm gonna be so nervous. Like these are all like real actors, and I've never done this, and it's a lead role, and I'm like, oh my god, like it's gonna be fucking just, I'm gonna
overwhelming.
And I did that whole process, and it was the greatest experience ever. And I didn't have a sip of alcohol, and you know I'm like making a focal point about alcohol, but it's not like I was an alcoholic or anything. It was just that I oftentimes used alcohol as a way to sort of like calm the nerves and all these things. And I just didn't want to, I just wanted to prove to myself that like I can do certain shit. I can do hard shit without alcohol. And so I proved that to myself this year. And I think by stepping into the unknown, you know, I've grown a lot as a person. And I'm super proud of myself, and it makes me feel very capable. Even like, you know, in June when I shot the video with Will Smith for his song, bro, it's like first time we meet was on camera. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how they wanted to do it. Was like, wow, yeah, like we rented, like he fucking, you know, got this art museum in Madrid, like shut it down for a couple hours, whatever. And the way they wanted to do it was to like, we don't want y'all to meet before meeting on camera. You know what I mean? Like they wanted to,
like not even on set.
No.
Wow.
Like he was in that room and I was in this room and I could hear him. It's Will Smith. You know what I mean? And like same thing. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna like, I need to take a shot. You know, before, like you want me to meet Will Smith. Yeah. And you want it to be on camera for the first time. Like that's so nerve-wracking. And then like to sit and just have a conversation in a dead quiet museum. Oh man. How nerve-wracking is that?
Absolutely.
You know? And so once again though, it's like I just didn't have alcohol. And was I nervous during that conversation? And you know, that conversation's out. And like, yeah, I was nervous. Yeah. Fucking Will Smith. I'm sitting there looking at him like, what? You're not even a real person. You know what I mean? Like it's insane. And but I was fine, you know, I got through it. And I just think like things like that, you know, a lot of times I think when you step into the unknown and you just run at the fear head on, you just end up, and you come out on the other side okay, you end up like leveling up as a person and you feel more capable and you just, you just become like a better version of yourself. So that's what I've really loved about this year is just like all these scary things for me. I stepped into them head on and I did them without alcohol. And so now like on this European tour, I'm having a blast because I'm drinking at the shows because it's fun. You know what I mean? Like, and it's
but that's also your comfort zone. That's what you know.
Yeah, like the shows, I was telling because the director from the movie I just did, he came out to Berlin and I was telling him it's like, there was a scene in the movie where one of the actors was playing a guitar around a campfire for like 5 people. Yeah. And I was telling the director last night, I said, that is so much more nerve-wracking than this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for what, like, if you were to like, yo, sing right now, I'd be so nervous. But like, if you put me on stage in front of 3,000 people, that's a walk in the park.
That's funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what that dynamic is But for whatever reason, like that's just like, yeah, that's my zone, you know?
Did you realize, is there a tipping point of like, I guess, amount of crowds? Like, does it become harder when you play? Do you think it's harder to play a stadium than an arena? Is it, or does it just gradually become easier the bigger the crowd becomes, you know?
I think smaller shows are harder.
Okay, just point blank.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the bigger they get, the easier they get. Yeah. Because, wow, I've never really thought about this. And I've never quite put it that articulate. Yeah.
You know, because if there's like 200,000 people, that might be...
money. That's a walk in the park.
Okay, cool.
You know why? I think there's an intimacy that smaller shows have that force you to be very vulnerable. They're vulnerable, you know, and you're very seen. And I think artists, established artists, Rick Rubin just said this, and I love Rick Rubin. And
yeah, man.
He put this so simply, and it's so true. He said, basically, I'm going to paraphrase, but it was like, up-and-coming artists have a desire to be seen. Established artists have the pressures of knowing that they're being seen.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, it's so true. It's, you know, when you're trying to like just get on and blow up, you're just so like, please see me, hear me, all these things.
Right.
When you're established, it's the pressure of like, oh my God, everyone can see me.
Yeah.
So when you're doing a smaller show, there's no hiding. There's 200 people here. We can all see you, and like, it's right here. There's no barricade. Like, it's very intimate. It's like that campfire setting. You know what I mean? When I did the stadiums with Ed, I was surprised how comfortable I felt. And I think because it gets to be such a big place that it doesn't feel all that vulnerable. You feel, I don't know, you know what I mean? It's kind of strange.
So I had the honor to interview Rick, just because you brought him up, this year in May, in front of like 10,000 people, right?
Right, whoa.
And before that, I was like, okay, that's 10,000 people.
Yeah, that's a lot.
What helped me bring it back and make me stay sane is I'm doing these interviews, right? And they go on the internet and 100,000 people watch it.
Right.
So what's 10,000 then?
Yeah,
that was the trick I was trying to, you know, give myself. So do you have methodics that you use before shows if, you know, anxiety hits you, especially now trying to do stuff without alcohol, where you try to trick your own brain?
No. See, so here's the thing with tricking your own brain. This is what I used to do.
Yeah.
Is that as soon as you get taken out of your body and you get put in your mind, it's over with. And now, like, you start, and if you think your brain can trick your body into feeling safe, anyone who's like, everyone has had anxiety issues at some point in life. They maybe just didn't realize it. But as soon as your body doesn't feel safe, and you don't feel safe in your body, and your brain now thinks that it can trick your body into feelings, it can't. And so there would be a lot of times in the past on stage where, you know, I would get out there, and for whatever reason, I just feel tense. My body doesn't feel safe. Yeah. And now I'm in my head thinking that, like, oh, maybe if I can just tell myself that it's okay. And it's like, no, it doesn't work. Like, it's over with. Right. My body doesn't feel safe. And so my brain cannot trick my body into feeling safe. Yeah. So after doing the movie, or let me say when I was doing the movie, I got such great advice from two actors, Tom Cavanaugh and Lindsay Fonseca, who just, they were like my rocks on set. And they just helped me so much. But they gave me these two pieces of advice, which is listen and use it. And what they mean by that was whatever's going on internally, listen to it and use it in the scene. And so, you know we're about to do 5 takes of this scene. And so if on take 1, you feel anxious, listen and use it and do this scene from that place. And then by the end of that take, now maybe you're feeling a little bit more comfortable, or you're feeling angry now. Well, now use that, pick it up from there and use that anger. And so it helps so much, because even on stage now, I had a moment, I think 3 shows ago, and it was like during Ain't Nobody Taking My Baby, and I felt that anxiety kick just for whatever reason, right? And I felt my body start to get tense, and I felt my brain going back to those old habits of let me try to trick myself into feeling okay. Right. And then I said, no, let me remember, listen and use it. And so I said, you know what? This song is kind of sad. Yeah. And I feel sad right now on stage that I'm letting like my anxiety like take over. And so I said, I'm just going to be sad and do the song. Yeah. And so I did the rest of the song from that place. Because in the past, I would have tried to smile and like trick my way. You know what I mean? Try to think 100%. That I can like smile my way through it. And maybe if I can pretend like I'm not really anxious right now, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
But I said, you know what? I'm just going to deliver this song from the place that I'm currently at, which is I'm sad. And then by the end of the song, I was good again. Because I listened to where I was at and I didn't ignore it and I got through it and that feeling got out and then I was fine again, you know? And it was such a immediate change.
Interesting.
And such an applicable tool to just listen and use it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta say, man, hats off, honestly, to the way you handled your career for so many years.
Thank
like
you.
A decade now. There's a photo of you and me from like, I think 7 or 8 years ago in Cologne.
No shit.
Yeah, man, you played sold out.
That was still one of my favorite shows.
4,000 people back then was crazy. It was one of the loudest shows I've ever been to at that point.
Yeah.
And we met at the backstage. We had an interview. I'll show you the photo afterwards.
God, bro.
Both of us are babies back then. So
yeah.
You were talking with B. Dot at the top of the year for your album release.
Yeah.
And you said, hey, I'm still trying to find ways to celebrate myself as well.
Yes.
Just because we're talking about giving feelings or your own feelings the right to live and you know, exist, basically, as the sadness in the concert.
Yeah.
Celebrating yourself is also a feeling that has the right to exist, right?
Yeah.
And have you found ways to really sit back and celebrate yourself without, you know, without the tequila and without it getting out of control?
It's tough, you know. That's something I still struggle with, and I think a lot of the, you know, a lot of the struggle comes from just not knowing how to celebrate yourself, and I think, you know, what I'm realizing is there's like different ways to do it. You can just do it internally. It's just self-acknowledgement. You can journal about it, like, what am I proud of and why am I proud of it and why is it important?
Yeah.
You know, and so there's a lot of that. You can buy yourself something. You know, so like I bought myself a Patek the other day just because, honestly, it wasn't because I was celebrating myself. I was just like bored.
That's also a way to trick, like when you buy something, you're like, oh, I'm doing it to celebrate.
Yeah. No. It's because I'm celebrating.
Yeah.
You try to like figure something out to justify the purchase.
Yeah.
But nah, to be honest, it's really tough for me to celebrate myself still because I still wrestle with that nothing is good enough, job isn't finished approach. You know what I'm saying? Like,
job not finished.
Yeah, and it's, you know, a lot of athletes, I've talked about it before, but, you know, they use dark motivation. You know, Michael Jordan talks about all the time of like, I just needed you to say something to piss me off and now I'm going to go. And I think that works really well in sports, you know, but it's not really like sustainable outside of sports because you can't keep being like, I can't go through life being like, just looking to make an enemy out of everything in order to be motivated to like crush it. It's like, I've had to shift from dark motivation to light motivation, which is just the love of the game, the love of what I do, the adoration to just connect with people and just express my story. Like all of that is loving in light motivation and it's very sustainable. I was running off of dark motivation for years.
Yes.
And that's why I ended up like having a breakdown because I just couldn't beat myself into like success anymore. You know what I mean? I couldn't say like, no, fuck you. You needed to, like, bro, I couldn't take it. I was getting berated by myself. I was like in the fetal position, like, bro, like I cannot take it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, stop fucking beating my ass. Like trying to like shame me into success. And it's like, yeah, you can do that. And I have done that and it can get you to a certain point, but at some point you're going to have a fucking breakdown because it just doesn't work anymore.
You know what I think is interesting with dark motivation and you bringing up sports or athletes, I think hip-hop is very similar to sports, right?
Yeah.
From all of the music genres, hip-hop's probably the one that's the closest to sports as far as like mental state goes because we're always in competition trying to, you know, one-up ourselves and others as well. And in sports, you have that there's a structured dark motivation because when the game's over, the game's over for now. You know, you're like, you can let it go. Jordan, I don't know if he did it, but you know, you can shake your opponent's hands. It's all good until the next night or maybe next season if you're on a break.
Sure.
For a musician or someone who's making culture, the fight is never done
Yeah.
Especially for you being independent from the jump and, you know, self-made, it was never really over. There was never really a break for the dark motivation. So maybe it also took over at some point.
That's such a good point. It's as if like the clock just keeps running.
Yeah.
The games, you know what I'm saying?
Fourth quarter is still on.
It's always, you're always in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And it always feels like you're 2 points behind.
Yeah.
And you need to do some like fucking miracle shit, you know? And living in that state of just pressure and feeling like, oh my God, like I gotta fucking crush you and crush this and fuck you and fuck, no, fuck you. You know what I mean? And just like, yeah, it's just that constant mind state of like, I have to, like you said, like use dark motivation. And I don't get a break from it because with being an artist, you're always in the game, you know? And even when you're just in your house, you're like, well, you know, I need some dark motivation to go into the studio. Like, maybe I should like just fucking curate an argument with my fucking girl. And like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's all bullshit, you know? It's all this like self-indulgent bullshit thinking that like you need to like live some sort of toxic self-sabotage life all for the sake of the art. It's not sustainable. That's not real, you know?
Yeah.
And now in my life, I'm trying to have the balance of like being a great artist while also having just a great like home life and a great, you know what I mean? And I really think you can do it all. Like that's what I'm proving to myself this year is like, oh, I can do a European tour, go shoot a movie, come and do another European tour, like train basketball, like, you know what I mean? Like try to play in pro-ams and do it, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to just do everything because you can like when I'm not being spiritually weighed down by old tactics anymore, when I'm not spiritually being weighed down by my own shame, then I have so much more bandwidth emotionally and spiritually to like actually do shit and achieve shit, you know?
So 2018, and that was when you were in your zoo era.
Yeah.
You did a lot of interviews.
Yeah.
And, you know, retrospectively, I feel that was maybe a shifting place for you.
Yeah.
But you said multiple times, I got 2 more albums in me, then I'm done.
Yeah.
Because, quote unquote, this is not a breeding place for a healthy mind to be in.
Yeah.
And retrospectively, I'm wondering, maybe your mind was just not healthy? Because you're still here doing albums. I'm sure today you wouldn't say I got only 2 more albums in me.
Sure.
What has changed from then, from this statement to today?
I think you're spot on. I think my mind wasn't in a healthy place. And I think that I didn't know how to navigate the game from an authentic, healthy place. So I looked at everything. I looked at my goals like they were enemies, you know, like, oh, you know, I want to be the #1 artist on Billboard. Or I want to have the #1 album, or I want to have the most streams, or do the biggest first week sales.
Yeah.
And if I don't, fuck you, fuck y'all. You know what I mean? And
you don't get it.
You don't get it. You don't get me. Like these dudes suck. Like what? You need to fuck with me. And you know, when I was getting all that hate in 2018, it just seemed like everyone was just fucking out to get me, and all the, you know, all this like victim shit and all this shit that just was like, I was just placing too much weight on other people's opinions and approval and all that shit. And so I just chalked it up as like, I'm about to just take my ball and go home. Like, you know, like, fuck this. This isn't even fun anymore. And it wasn't. It wasn't fun. But the reality is, it's like, I was in the belly of the beast at that time. You know what I mean? I was just like at complete odds with myself spiritually because I couldn't understand why I didn't feel good about my life. I had everything, surface value, like, why is this not fun? And, you know, it was because a lot of like I said, a lot of the resistance of what was going on, I refused to look at myself and my mindset because, you know, when you think a certain way and you achieve crazy success, you start to think that, well, the way I think is fucking right. Yeah. And it never needs to be altered.
Yeah.
And so the reality is that as you go through life, like different mindsets need to be adopted. Like there's you have to be flexible. And I was so rigid, like, no, but like everything I read, it all says to be like this. And like, it's like, bro, okay, that's how you were operating and it got you to here. It's not to say that my younger self didn't have admirable qualities. I think his resilience was so impressive, and his perseverance and his desire to figure it out, you know, was really, really impressive. But yeah, it's just, bro, at a certain point, like the way you think needs to be altered sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, and I wrestled with that because I just thought, like I was saying, I just thought that, no, how I think doesn't need to change, because what do you mean? I'm fucking popping and I'm a millionaire and I made my dreams happen.
Yeah.
So like how I think is right. It's like, it got you to here and now you're struggling because this doesn't work anymore. And the way you think about things doesn't work anymore. It's not serving you anymore. So you need to like deep dive, like excavate all the bullshit and adopt a new way of operating. You know?
Totally. What I think was funny is that in the midst of all of that and the anxiety, everything, you never really took a turn towards drugs.
Yeah.
And you were always, obviously, there's this topic of the T-shirt that you wore with the Zans and everything. And you were vocal about how you would have maybe done it differently today.
Sure.
With a different state of mind today towards all of the different topics. Because the topic of substance abuse in hip-hop hasn't changed. It's become worse, arguably.
Yeah.
How would you have tackled that problem or that issue within the community nowadays with a different mindset?
I think
different slogan on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
What slogan would be on a T-shirt today?
I just would lose the word loser on the T-shirt. No. I think a lot of that back then, even the T-shirt, the intention was good. It was coming from a good place.
Yeah.
I think the approach though was very like, once again, trying to call shit out, trying to like in an indirect way illuminate why people should be fucking with me and not these people.
Yeah.
You know? So once again, it was all driven from this very like, nah, like I'm so much better than that.
Yeah.
And I think now I would just talk about it in an interview in a tasteful way and say, look, I feel like, you know, this is happening. And just from a non-emotional, like trying to big up myself kind of way, you know? Which, you know, it's still tough for me. Like I still struggle with like accepting that shit exists and other people can exist and do their own thing and I can do my own thing. And, you know, if you want to listen to that or if you want to support that or champion that kind of stuff and not my shit, it is what it is. I still struggle with accepting that, but it's like, I also think, once again, I'm also proud of my younger self, that version of me, for the energy of like calling the shit out. Because at the end of the day, strip all the emotions and how people felt about the shit. That shit needed to be said.
That's true.
Like somebody within the space needed to come out and call out the glorification of substance abuse and especially from like a social media standpoint. Yeah. You know? And just trying to make it look cool to people and not understanding the responsibility and just even within the music, not understanding like, just not understanding the impact and influence you have over kids, you know? And I'm not saying like I'm a perfect role model, but I just think as an artist, you can either inspire people to self-destruct or you can inspire people to self-improve, you know? And I think a lot of the music coming out right now is inspiring you to self-destruct. You know, it's the glorification of self-destruction. And I get that
Oh, that's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and I get that in America, we're the #1 exporter of entertainment and the most entertaining thing in the world is to watch somebody destroy their life, you know? That's so fun. Even when it's like, you know, I was backstage at a show one time and I was like having this conversation and I was like, people want to see the train wreck. They don't want to watch some, like if there was 2 YouTube videos, right? And one video was just a train running smoothly and another one was 2 trains crash head on into each other. Which one do you think is going to have more views? This is more entertaining. And so, and then right when that happened, when I was saying this backstage, there was like commotion outside of the green room, and 2 people from within our green room went out there to see what was going on. Like, oh shit, there's about to be a fight.
Yeah.
And when they realized that there wasn't a fight, they came back in because there was nothing to see.
Yeah. It's funny what you bring up with you know, the train wreck situation, because there's something in journalism called news value theory, which decides whether something makes the news or doesn't make the news.
Yeah.
And one of those news values is frequency. Does that happen frequently? Yes, then maybe it's less interesting to people.
Wow.
But there's a big problem in that, because that leads to things being in the coverage that happen less frequently.
Yes.
But have more time on the screen. So people think stuff that rarely happens much more often than stuff that regularly happens, because that doesn't make the news.
Yeah.
That leads to people thinking, you know, immigrants do this and that.
Sure.
Because maybe it happened, you know, twice, but both of these times it made state news.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But it rarely happens.
Wow.
Like, stuff rarely happens. And you think like, oh man, airplanes are crashing left and right, you know?
Right.
But it rarely happens. And
Yeah.
99% of the time, it's all perfectly fine. And
It's like the Facebook mom groups.
oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that kind of, you know, distorts reality for people. The more also we, you know, have social media, that theory gets played out even
That's
more
such
and more,
an
much more
interesting.
radical.
That's so fucking interesting. Bro.
Yeah.
Because it's true though. It's like, if it happens all the time, it's not newsworthy.
Yeah.
And so then at that point, now you're getting these absurd, rare, you know, lightning in a bottle things. And those are the only things that are newsworthy. But now that they're on the news and they're repeatedly on the news, now people think that they happen all the time.
Exactly.
That's the issue with everything, right?
Yeah.
Even within like trying to blow up as a rapper, a lot of people think, you know, one of this is like a law of power, which is like creating a spectacle, right? That's what that is.
Yeah.
And it's like, to your point, well, you know, 10 years ago, the spectacle would have been this level of absurdity. But now we've seen that. So now we need this level. Well, now we've seen that. And so now it just keeps getting more and more absurd. And what you end up doing is you desensitize people to absurdity. And so they don't realize how insane this thing is that you're watching. Because you've gradually gotten numb to the bullshit. And I feel for the kids, and I feel for people trying to make it as a musician, because you start feeling like, well, the only way for me to be seen is to be absurd, is to create a spectacle. And 8 years ago, all I had to do was dye my hair, you know, and like jump around and scream on Instagram.
That was sensational enough.
That was sensational enough. Now I have to do crack on camera while rapping. Wow, you know what I mean? And it's just like, it's like we're living in a Black Mirror episode where it's just like, no, that's not absurd enough. Do something. Oh yeah. You see that? He just like, he just fucked a pig. Like, you know what I mean? It's like insane. And it's sad, bro. It's really sad. And that's why, like, I respect, you know, the artists who still just keep it about the music and make great music, and they create spectacles within that world. You know, I have a lot of respect for Tyler, the Creator.
Oh man,
because I think, like, I personally, I don't listen to a lot of the music. It's not for me, but I think that dude is such a fucking genius, and I don't even know him, and I'm like proud of him, you know, because it's like, I think what he's done is such a testament to, one, trusting your taste, doing it your way, and then also creating spectacles within the music that are about the music.
About the music.
He doesn't, you know, jump on a moving train and say, new album coming out. He just makes spectacles with the music videos or with the world building, and, you know, and I just think that's fucking awesome, you know. I'm currently taking a lot of inspiration from him, you know, and I tried to, you know, do it even with Santiago, with just the world building and and creating these moments that are just like larger than life. Like, I spent $1 million on creating this listening experience in the desert, in the Pismo Dunes, and, like, you know, having sculptures built of me coming out of the sand, and, like, you know, everyone gets headphones, everyone has, like, you know, all like art directed, and I have an orchestra playing, you know. It's just like doing shit like that, like make that a spectacle.
100%. I mean, the absurdity that you made your break with was
Yeah.
also about the music, because obviously, you know, the famous 3-year, 2-year run where you
That was
drop
absurd.
music. That was
Right.
absurd. But I wondered, like, there needs to be a flow state that you get into to be able to do song after song with it, you know, having your plan in mind to release them
Yeah.
weekly. And I'm just trying to understand, have you found a way to unlock how you could, let's say, manipulate the circumstances around yourself to get into a flow state easier, quicker, and sustain that flow state for longer? Because we all know that moment where athletes are like, oh, everything I touch, you know, everything is buckets.
Yeah.
Everything I touch in the studio goes gold. But we quite don't know how to go or enter these moments.
Yeah.
They just happen, and then we know how to use them, but
Yeah.
we don't know how to sustain them or get into them.
I think it's discipline. I think Rick Rubin talks about it in his book, where it's like discipline is actually unlocks a freedom for you creatively, meaning like when you have certain things in your life that you can put on autopilot, whether it's the outfit you're wearing or whether it's your workout regimen or whatever. Now, or every day I'm going to the studio for 30 minutes. Some days that 30 minutes is going to turn into 6 hours.
Yeah.
But like you got to go in there every day. So during that weekly process, when I was dropping songs every week, I had so much music and I was in that flow state because I was going to the studio every day, and not every session was a hit, but because I'm going in there, something's going to shake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm going to get great shit at some point, you know? And like I said, it wasn't every day, but you know, the more at bats you give yourself, the better chance you get on base, you know?
Yeah.
So a lot of people only go to the studio when they're feeling inspired. It's like, all right, well, you might only get 20 bats a year. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
You're only going to take 20 swings. I'm trying to go in there every day regardless.
Yeah.
Because I just want to be in the environment of creativity. So I go in there every day,
Yep.
you know, just to like, I'll just listen to fucking samples, or I'll just try to make drums or whatever. Because I know that if I go in here every day, I just have a better chance at striking gold.
It's also kind of like training, because if you're like, oh, I'm only going to the studio when I feel inspired, it kind of sounds like I'll only step on the court when it's the finals.
Or I only want to go to the gym when I feel like going to the gym.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're not going to get in good shape.
Yeah.
Nobody, it's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there has to be a discipline of I'm going to go,
Yeah.
and also a detachment from the results. I'm just going to go, and I'm just going to play.
Yeah.
And whatever happens is whatever happens. But at least I know I showed up today. And I always tell artists, like, just make sure you show up, you know, like show up.
Yeah.
That's it.
You spoke about detachment from the results, which I think is another parallel to sports, because, you know, obviously losing a game, athletes talk about that a lot. Losing a game is much easier when you know the next game is the next night, because it's the next opportunity to do good. And dropping a song every week obviously makes it easier. If one song's a flop, you're like, I don't care. Next week is the next week. But can you remember like the couple of times where songs did immediately hit and how they felt? Did they feel any different in making them? Were you able to like, you know, take something from it, feel it in the studio the next time, be like, oh, I remember when, you know, that's how it felt last time?
I think I've only had, how many songs have I had that instantly hit? I think 3. I think Best on Earth, right when I dropped it.
Yeah.
Rihanna posted it within 24 hours, which is insane. That's lightning in a bottle shit.
Yeah.
Handsomer, right when I dropped it, that went nuts. And I think Nasty. Those are like the only, I've only had 3 songs out of my like 500.
That's interesting.
So it's so rare that happens. My shit is usually a slow burn.
Absolutely.
But to answer your question, like Handsomer felt like a smash when I made it. But to be honest, when I put up a snippet of it in December of 2021, it didn't do anything. So I took down the snippet.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I made that song like Christmas of December 2021, and I posted it right before the new year, and it didn't do shit.
And then it came out when?
And then I put it out like February 5th, 2022, and it went dumb, you know? And so it's like, I don't know, bro. Like, that's the thing where you can't be so zoomed in where if this song doesn't take off in the first week it dropped, then it's not worth shit. Yeah. And also, fans and artists need to realize, up and coming artists, you need to listen to this, what I'm about to say. A lot of times when you see a song come out and it instantly goes dumb, and an artist seems like they have no misses, and anytime they put out one song, it just goes, they're making it happen. They're spending 400 grand on TikTok. They're spending 400 grand on fake streams. They're spending 400, and they're making sure this goes crazy. You know, they're paying to play. So a lot of times what you're seeing feel like, you know, you might feel like, oh, this is an organic hit. How organic is it if they spent $1 million on it within the first week of it being out? To do a TikTok campaign to get this group of 300 influencers to post it. And now because these 300 influencers posted it and they are influencers, now you get 300,000 users to just post it because, well, if those 300 are posting it, they're so cool. It's gotta be a smash. And now social currency, well, that sound must be really valuable on TikTok. So now I'm gonna use it because I have 2,000 followers and I want my page to grow. And if she's using it and he's using it, it's gotta be worth something. And so now all of a sudden, it's a smash in the first week, but it's like they spent $1 million on the song. Like, what are you talking about? You know, so I always tell people, like, that's not real life. Like, artists need to understand that's not real life. That's not how this shit goes. The more, like, accurate, realistic thing that's going to happen to you, like I said, I've had 3 songs that have ever just gone dumb out of 500. The more accurate thing is you're going to put out a song, it's not going to do shit, and if it does take off, it's going to be next year. Man, or in 2 years from now. Like, I put out Breathe 3/15 2021. That shit now is like having its biggest streaming days. 3 years later. You know what I'm saying? Like, it went #1 on the TikTok charts like last year. Just because that truly organically got, you know, and it's everyone, look, and every artist with a budget spends money on advertising, TikTok, all that shit. It's advertising, right? So I get it. And I'm not knocking it. I'm just demystifying the, like, you know, whoa, this just went crazy out the gate. It's like, something can. You can have Rihanna just like all of a sudden she posted, now your song's fucking insane.
You can't calculate that in.
But you can't calculate that. You can't factor that in. So everyone does campaigns. Like, I've done campaigns, and it's like, yeah, you can spend this money, and yeah, it gets, you know, influencers to post it and whatever. But like, I'm talking about these labels are spending $1 million. So you got to understand, like, you can't even compare yourself in your song, like in the first week, to what this person's song is doing when this song got $1 million spent on it. Of course it's gonna go dumb, you know? Because yes, to a certain extent, you can't pay people to fuck with your song, but after a certain budget, you can. You can. Like, to be honest, if you have 100,000, you can't. 100,000 isn't gonna do it. You got $1 million? Oh yeah.
That's gonna make a difference.
I can make you fuck with my shit. Like, if I put out a song tomorrow and I just wanted to like fuck around and be like, yeah, I'm about to just spend $1 million, I'll make you think it's a smash. Because I'm going to spend 400,000 on TikTok and get all these influencers, and I'll spend 600,000 with the dude who runs up the streams for everyone and boosts them to the point that Spotify can't even detect it. And now my song not only does 20 million streams in the first week on Spotify, and you can see that, but because I spent so much money over here on TikTok, you look at it and you're like, well, it makes sense because it's going dumb on TikTok. I think that's why I did 20 million streams. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can you can make people think something is a smash, and then people, like, social proof is a real thing.
Absolutely.
Because it's going so viral here, and because it has 20 million streams, it must be good. And so a lot of people think like, bro, like, numbers don't make me think a song is good. Yes, it does. Social proof is a real thing. That's not like, you're not above like social proof. Like, that's how humans work. You know, so you can make people fuck with the song.
One last thing that I saw you talk about in the interview with Elsie that you just recently did. Great interview, by the way.
Thank you.
You said that at the beginning, well, for the first like 8 or 9 mixtapes, you were like, oh, I'm the best shit out there. Why is it not popping? Then you had a moment, apparently, where you went back and listened to Take Care by Drake around the same time. And you had a very realizing moment for yourself, like, oh, I'm very far off.
That would happen all the time.
Give me a couple of examples of records that you would listen to during that time that would make you realize there's room to grow in a certain direction. Maybe starting with Take Care. What was it that Take Care showed you which your game was still lacking?
Drake is the god of vocal execution in rap.
Yeah.
Simple as that. I don't care what anyone has to say. That dude, his vocal execution is what I always used to just champion and just be so like astounded by.
Yeah.
Like the melodies were so tight and everything, like it was just, he just nailed everything. You know what I mean? And so I would listen to Take Care and be like, damn, my melody sound kind of sloppy. Not even my melody, but like my delivery, like, you know, my cadence, like it was just like him and Eminem. To me, like when it comes to vocal execution, it's so like fucking perfect. It's like, it's nuts how good that shit is.
Yeah.
So I would listen to, I would listen to Take Care and be like, yeah, my shit isn't there. I would listen to Twisted Fantasy and be like, fuck.
Oh,
no.
yeah. I mean, but that's.
I'm like, yeah, but like, you know, I'm just like, damn, man, my shit sucks. But, you know, back then I was also like, you know, listening to just mixtapes I fucking love, like The Marathon by Nipsey or Return of Forever by Big Crit, and just listening to like rappers who I thought were fucking ill. Yeah. And their shit would just be so much better than mine. I'm like, damn, listen to his voice. Listen to their cadence. Yeah. Like, listen to the mix. How come their beats just sound like they're slapping harder and like, you know, because my mixing, I used to just have so much reverb on my voice. Like if you go back and listen to like early mixtapes, I just had so much reverb on like my rapping. I'm like, this shit doesn't sound good. Yeah. Like, but I was just trying to figure shit out. But yeah, man, I would just listen to all of that shit and it just wasn't as good. And I, you know, I would tell myself that I'm the shit and I'm the greatest and all of that, to almost like try to trick myself into to trick myself into like, no, keep going. You're great. Yeah. You know, but deep down I knew I had to get better. And so that's what I was saying in the LC interview is like, you don't have to be honest with me, but you got to be honest with yourself, you know, like you can tell the world like you're the greatest ever. Like I used to tweet shit when I was 18, like $1 million a beat. I'm the greatest producer ever. And it's like, I feel that energy, but deep down I knew my shit needed to get better. Both is important at the same time. Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you say vocal execution and melodies with Drake. Yeah. I had the pleasure to speak with Chili Gonzalez, who's also Canadian. And helped Drake with a lot of stuff. I think he played the piano on Marvin's Room and for time with Jhené Aiko. And he told me about the process of Drake finding melodies. Yeah. He was like, he's looking for a melody where you are like, oh, that's a great hook. Oh, so this is a trick I took from him. Okay. Because I saw Drake. Drake talked about this also like a long time ago where he writes a melody and he's like, oh yeah, that melody could be a hook. Make that the verse. Now write a better melody. And so I took that a long time ago from him because it's like, that's how you make the whole song a sing-along. Yep. That I did hooks. I did that with together. I did that with Losing Control. Oh man. You know what I mean? I was like, you know what? To make the whole fucking song a sing-along, the hook melody has to actually like, the verse melody has to feel like a hook. Right. Because now you're going to sing the whole shit. Right. You know, even with What They Want, you know, the verse melody gets chanted arguably louder than the hook melody. Yeah. You know, and Drake is so fucking good at that. And I think, you know, I think up and coming artists should just like, man, just study the greats. Absolutely. And Drake is one of the greats. Drake is arguably the greatest melody writer in hip hop history. I don't even think that that's like, that shouldn't even be some far-fetched thing. Like this dude has written more hit melodies than I think anyone in rap ever. Yeah. And like, you can do the whole like, well, this is rap. It's not about melody writing and like, who cares? Dog, shut up. Like, greatness is greatness. Right. And for somebody to come through and write that many hit melodies, that shit is insane. I don't care what box it was supposed to be in, if it was supposed to be rap or what, it doesn't matter. Like, I always tell people like, fuck all this shit, right? Look at these people like human beings that if you didn't know them from a can of paint and they walked into the room and said, yo, I just made this album, check this out. And you thought they were an up and coming artist, you didn't know who they were. Yeah. And they press play and it's Take Care. You'd be like, you're fucking insane. Right. Same shit with Kendrick, same shit with Cole, same shit with all these dudes. Like people get so jaded to greatness because once again, like we were saying, you get it so often. So you think that like, it's just some whatever shit. It's like, nah, bro. Like if Kendrick walked in the room, you didn't know who he was. He said, I make music and he goes and plays Father Time, you'd be like, dog, you're fucking nuts. Yeah. You know, so it's like, people need to respect this shit more, bro. It's like, shut up and respect greatness. That's my fucking issue with people and the fans. Like, even with like people hating on LeBron, shut up, dog. This dude's 40 years old, putting up triple-double. Shut up and respect greatness. I don't even, like, if you hate on LeBron, you're a fucking loser. You're a dweeb. I can't even relate to you.
Yeah.
Because you don't even know greatness when it's staring you right in the fucking face.
Yeah.
You're a fucking loser, bro. Drake is incredible. Kendrick is incredible. Cole is incredible. These dudes, like, are insane.
Yeah.
Like, the level of skill you have to be that dead nice for that long consistently, and every album you put out has fucking slaps on it and you're barring up and it's nah, bro, y'all gotta shut up and understand y'all are watching Bron play.
That's pretty accurate when you look at Drake's career, I think, because we tend to forget when we're, you know, contemporaries with people, how long they've been doing it, because we stay idolizing, you know, the 90s legends.
Yeah.
Those arguably maybe had 3-4 good years in the 90s.
Yeah.
But, you know, Bron, or, you know, let's say it with music, Kendrick, Cole, Drake, they've been doing it now for 15 years.
Bro, it's
still
insane.
having the run, you know?
It's not normal. That's not regular.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they're still like just heralded as the big three.
Yeah.
Because it's fucking insane what they're doing. It's not right. Like, I remember listening to J. Cole, the warm up in fucking 09 when I was a junior in high school.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or a senior in high school. And it's like, this dude, 15 years later, is still putting out quality shit. Like, to highlight how insane that is how many rappers have come through since 09 that have come and gone and still haven't been able to match the greatness of Kendrick, Drake, and Cole. Y'all got to shut the fuck up and understand that, like, we are watching greatness. Like, I don't know, I don't get it. Like, and it's so sad because people are so dumb that people need to either die or retire to respect it. It's like, y'all gonna understand how great LeBron is when LeBron retires, and none of these people ever come close to what the fuck he did.
Right.
Y'all gonna understand how great Drake, Kendrick, and Cole are when, God forbid, they pass away, and y'all have to be left with the bullshit that is the current rap game. Like, get a fucking grip, bro. These dudes suck out here, and those dudes are fucking great, and y'all are fucking dumb as shit.
Russ.
End it on that fucking note.
Exactly. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for stopping by. It was a pleasure and an honor, man.
Thank you, man. That was one of my favorite conversations
Thank you
ever.
so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you for stopping by. Russ.